This is a brief update of the Red Wiggler worm mix that I started back in November, on November 17th, 2022. I've already removed the brown leaves from the worm bin, and they're doing a really good job of holding in the moisture. I'm actually so impressed with the brown leaves that I'm going to probably keep doing this just because I don't have to water the bin as often. If I were to leave this paper, shredded paper, open like this, then it would dry out really quick. But with a good, inch to 2 inches of leaves on there, it's really not, I'm really not having to water it much at all. Unfortunately, some of the paper balls up like this, and so I'll try to separate some of this, but it does tend to clump up. This is the asparagus, the shell of the asparagus that I put in back in November when I started this worm bin, and they've eaten everything that they can. All they've left is just this fiber material. And this stuff seems to take quite a while to break down in the worm bin. Eventually, they'll break it down. But there's not really worms hanging out around it too much because they've eaten everything they can. There's a few little baby worms here and there, but overall they've moved on from this and they're going after the stuff that they can actually consume. Anything that's woody or real fibrous material, they struggle to really eat, and other microorganisms have to break it down first. Here's some of the food scraps from the last video that I put in, and they've broken down almost everything. Here's a big glob of worms that have made a bunch of castings, and this is where I put the fruit and vegetables last time, and as well as there's paper in there that they've shredded too. So they're doing a pretty good job of breaking this stuff down. This is a sweet potato that I put in last time, and this is pretty much the only thing that they haven't gone after yet. Um, looks like there's a couple worms in there that are checking it out, but they're not really going after it yet. It might just be taking longer to break down. Some fruits and vegetables take longer to break down. And the worms, they seem to know when it's the right time for them to go in and gobble it up. But yeah, this sweet potato, and I think now if I had frozen this first, it may have broken down a lot quicker, and they might have been able to eat it quicker. I do keep a deep freezer that I just store veggies in for my worms, and they can break down fruits and vegetables a lot quicker than if I put them in there fresh. Something else I struggle with is if I put fresh veggies in there, like broccoli, sometime leaf lettuce, it'll actually start to grow in the worm bin. And so I like to freeze everything first. Here's another handful of worm castings that is left from paper and fruits and veggies that they've been eating. Okay, what I've done now is I've completely mixed together the worm castings that they've left behind along with the remaining shredded paper. And I'm actually not going to add any more paper to this because the more stuff I add, the longer it's going to take for this worm bin to be ready to harvest and to actually get the worm castings so I can put them on my plants. So now what I did is I mixed it together before adding any more veggie scraps. The reason is I don't like to mix fruit and vegetables into the entire bedding. It's better to have safe zones. So if your food goes bad and sour, you don't kill the entire bin. And so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to pick one corner like I did last time, and I'm going to add, I have some lettuce and banana peels that I'm going to add. And then I'm going to add some water on top to moisten the shredded paper. I don't want it too wet because I don't want it to ball up and compact like you saw a minute ago. So I'm going to be careful how much water I add. Then I'm going to put the brown leaves on top and let it sit And I'm going to see how long this worm bin takes for all of this paper to be turned into worm castings. And then I'm going to harvest it with a hand harvester that you can easily make by yourself at home. And so I'll keep posting videos of this same worm bin that I started in November until it is completely finished and ready to harvest. And I'll do the harvesting process too. Um, so I started vermicomposting back in 2008, and I've really done a lot of trial and error and killed worms and on accident, and learned a lot from mistakes. One thing that I have learned that helps me a lot is to not overdo moisture. If you overdo your moisture, then by the time you get ready to harvest, you can't actually harvest your worm castings. So, and I'll show you in some of the next videos where I like to keep the worm bin before I harvest. So I actually let it air dry out a little bit before I harvest the worm castings. Because if you've ever tried to harvest wet, soggy worm castings, it's almost impossible. All right, thank you very much and have a great day.